everybody, long time no see, right? Let's see, I didn't do a video on Monday or Wednesday. I went on sort of a bender on the first. If you're watching my channel, you probably know I had a little bit of a financial difficulty in April. That's all over with now, but when the first came, I bought 20, usually I just get a 6-pack and a box of wine, and that's what I need. But I bought a 24-pack last Friday, and I'm still kind of recovering from that. So, but today we're doing a Friday issue, and today happens to be a holiday. And I know that 60% of my subscribers are men, so you might not know about this holiday. But it's International Women's Day. Let's see, should I? Yay! Okay, it's International Women's Day, and okay, that's enough. The holiday was marked by, if you watch my channel, you know that I'm a fan of Steven Crowder. Some woman wrote, any job is a woman's job, or something about, all work is women's work, something like that, like 10 times on Twitter or something like that. And I'm here to say, bull fucking shit, okay? And when men have this argument and they're posing it, you usually, like a liberal woman will come up and ask, what job do you think women can't do? Women can't be, okay, it's usually bricklayers, oil drillers, and what's the third? Coal miners. Coal miners. These are jobs that women don't frequently go for. But there are actually millions of jobs that if we're living in a meritocracy, women are just not as good at. If we're living in a DEI, inclusive society, of course, we're just going to lower the standards so that everybody can participate. But in a meritocracy, there are millions of jobs that women are less qualified for, and we just don't think about them. We don't see them. And it's a point of contention that, we don't give men the credit that they deserve for doing these jobs that women won't do. I come from a family of 3 women and 3 men. 2 parents, 4 kids. My dad doesn't have male-biased sperm. He came out at 50-50. My dad's the only one of his brothers that doesn't have male-biased sperm. It's statistic. It's a reality. So I have a particular job, and I have 3 very different women with very different strengths as a, controlled group. And I'm going to talk about this job at length. Are we rolling? Yes, we're rolling. Okay, it's probably more information than you want to know about this particular job, but it will explain why women shouldn't be tasked to perform this job. And I'm also going to add some astrology to this. I know that I have a 60%, I have a male-biased audience. So I am going to add a little bit of astrology just for the ladies, okay? This is going to be fun. The job is called handline irrigation. Yay! You guys are gonna love it. If you've ever driven across the countryside, if you've ever been out of the city, some people never have been out of a city before, but if you've ever driven across the countryside, you'll drive by farms and you'll see many forms of irrigation. You'll see 20-foot tall center pivots. Those are remote controlled, they're very easy, they're very expensive, but they don't take manpower to deal with. They're a mechanical thing. If you've been in an airplane and you look down and you see circular fields that have like circular green, that's because they have a center pivot watering on a controlled basis around in a circle, a big circle. It just depends on how big the field is, and that can all be remote controlled. It's very easy to do. But if you're driving on the road, you'll see wheel lines. Wheel lines are about 4 feet off the ground, and they're similar to a center pivot in that the whole line is on wheels, and there's a motor in the center, and the person that's moving the pipe position to water the entire field. To water the entire field, you make a move every 12 hours. And a guy will typically get on that motor, move it, I don't know, I don't know what's between it, like 50 feet? Each sprinkler head probably has a 25-foot radius, let's say. I don't really know. I'm a woman. I'm not great with, what do they call it, spatial reasoning? But I think probably maybe like a 25-foot radius. So you move it ahead 50 feet so that we can have another, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how the math all works out, but you move that line every 12 hours so that the whole entire field gets covered. Hopefully, that land will be flat. If the land is flat, the entire wheel line might move straight. Or it may not. I mean, I don't know. The person has to make sure that line is straight, because if it's not, I mean, I don't know what happens. I think there's probably a blowout. I don't know how wheel lines would have a blowout. I don't know. I've never seen it happen. But it probably could damage your equipment. But hand lines are a different beast altogether. And it involves a lot of physical work. Okay, I'm going to talk about my parents, and I'm going to talk about our farm. My parents, for the ladies out there, my parents are baby boomers, and they come from 2 different Pluto alignments. The baby boomers come from well, my parents don't. My parents are both Leo in Pluto boomers. The 2 kinds of boomers are Leo and Virgo. The Pluto goes very slowly, it takes, 10, 20 years to go around the sun. When my parents were born, and the entire baby boomer generation are Leos. And there is some specific flaws that are just inherently, documentably, I mean, they're inherent in the baby boomer generation. say the shadow side of Leos. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I cannot stand baby boomers and what they've done to the society in general. They have a pride in the sexual revolution. They have a pride in Roe v. Wade. They have a pride in no-fault divorce. They have a pride in the welfare state. They have a pride in the civil rights movement, which only led to, affirmative action and DEI. They have a pride in everything they've done to basically break down and destroy this whole society. And they've been in leadership for the last 50 years. Okay? They have all... Okay, the Virgo ones also have this obsession with image. They all have an obsession with image. A Leo will lie for two reasons. They'll lie to make themselves look good, and they'll lie to make themselves not look bad. They like to be worshipped, obeyed, admired. This is what they live for. This is central to their existence. So what they want to do, and what has been happening, and we're seeing it at the pinnacle right now, as the baby boomers are dying, we're seeing that, oh gosh, the narrative that the liberal boomers have told us to believe is slowly dying. And, kind of the mask is off now. And that's kind of what I'm doing here when I'm talking shit about my parents. They've been kind of controlling the narrative for however long, but it's starting to fall apart. Okay, so they both have that. My dad's a Scorpio, and because he's a Scorpio, people naturally don't like Scorpios, right? There's a natural disdain most people have for Scorpios, and that's why he really couldn't keep a job. He can't have a boss. Everybody undervalues him. He's nobody recognizes his greatness. That sort of a thing. His first two children are daughters, and they are opposites. I'm Libra with a Scorpio rising. My sister is a Scorpio with a Libra rising. Okay, my sister is a people pleaser, and with that Libra rising, and I'm sort of just naturally hated by everybody. And I'm sure that my dad might be able to relate to that if it wasn't for the fact that I'm a female, and he's just always been so disappointed in me for my lack of a patriarchal appendage. Okay, so my lack of a patriarchal appendage has marked my entire life. My entire life is marked by this lack of a patriarchal appendage that everybody wanted me to have, but I didn't have. So, my mom is a Capricorn. Capricorns, if you have a baby boomer mother, all baby boomer children are neglected by their parents. Gen X was the latchkey kids. our parents basically do nothing for us, and they're more considered, you know, they're focused on me. They're focused. What do I look like? What's happening to me? How me. They're very, very selfish people. Okay, and my mom as a Capricorn just escalates that, because a Capricorn, no matter where the Pluto is, will always avoid doing something for other people. They're usually emotionally disconnected from people. They don't know how to do anything for anybody else unless it benefits them directly and immediately. They just see no point in love, nurturing. These are not their gifts or qualities. Okay, so that was for the ladies. Okay, my mom's a feminist. Oh, she's a feminist. She's from Thurston County, Washington. I would argue the birthplace of the woke virus. And I'm going to do a long video also on Sunday, on Mother's Day, about my mother. We'll start it from, just for Mother's Day, we'll start way back, like way back half a century, more than a half a century ago. We're going to go back to the 50s, to when my mother was an innocent, loving person. But that'll be later, much later. Boy, this makes me tired, just even talking about her. But she's a feminist, and the narrative that she wants to create is of a feminist, and the picture she wants to paint is of somebody who just rebelled against her husband's wishes to have her stay home and raise the children. No, she fought. She fought my father about working outside of the home, because she's a liberated feminist, and she would have her money, and she would do above and beyond to break the bonds of the, you know, traditional patriarchy by going to work. Okay, it was very, very admirable. I've heard that story a billion times. But it's not true. If you've watched the video about my father, then you know that he's had, he failed at the pellet mill, and he blames that on some sort of a mysterious brother-in-law who, I don't know who it is. I don't know which uncle screwed my dad over in the pellet mill, but I imagine that my grandmother, my mom's mom, funded it. Okay? And he fucked that up all by himself. Okay, and then we go to the Lincoln Log Home Company. This was when I was in the first grade. I remember all of this. When I'm in the first grade, Lincoln Logs are coming out. When Lincoln Logs came out, I got a little tiny one of these where you can't build anything. But Dad decided that he was going to build Lincoln Log homes. But he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know how to manage the chemicals. He set himself on fire. He's got a big scar on his chest because he, you know, obviously he didn't know what he was doing. And he escaped the fire, but burned the house down and bankrupt that business. Okay, and then Mom scoped out Charlie Wanger, our neighbor from up the road. They figured out a way to tactically rob him of his estate. They inflated, Mom wrote this diary where they inflated what they did for him to collect on his estate after Charlie died. When they did that, he was able to purchase the farm that helped us fund the ranch that brought us to more central Montana. There's no irrigation in eastern Montana where we're from. That's wheat country. There's no irrigation there. So, Dad bought a place in Townsend on Lower Deep Creek to grow and sell alfalfa hay. And that's what brings us to handline irrigation. Okay, how many minutes in are we? We're already 20 minutes in, and I'm sorry about the long introduction. Sometimes my videos get a little long. This is going to be one of those videos. Most of you are not watching by now, but please subscribe if you made it that far. I have 68 subscribers. If you subscribe right now, you could be number 69. Everybody knows that 69 is a lucky number. Okay, so now we're at the farm with the handline irrigation. I'm 14 when we moved there. My sister is 12. My brother is 11. My other brother is 9. So he's not fully stocked in labor, but he's in a position to enforce obedience. Okay, so if you see handline irrigation or wheel line irrigation, any irrigation for that matter, it's better if it's on a flat split. But we have two fields, one big one and one smaller one, but they're both uphill. And it doesn't make it any easier to go downhill, but well, yes, it kind of does. It kind of is easier when we go back downhill. But how do I explain this? Okay. Handline irrigation is a series of pipes. We had one line of 30-foot pipes, and we had one line of 40-foot pipes. At the center, there's about a 2-foot sprinkler head, and that's what waters the field. Is it longer than 2 feet? I don't know, but all these lines are jointed. There's about 44 of these pipes per line. The upper field has more pipes because the field, not only is it not flat, it's also a parallelogram. It's not straight. So the further up the hill we go, the more links we have to add to the chain, or to the line. I'm 14. I just got my period. I'm just trying to manage socially and physically, getting through my days with my period. And there's a piece of hard work that is central to the success of this farm, which is inevitably going to fail also, but we'll get to that later. We get there in October. I had my birthday there, like right after we moved there. So we don't have to irrigate until that next spring. That next spring, in about May, we're only changing pipe, well, that's what we call it. We call it changing pipe when we have to start the 12-hour rotation. Dad is doing it himself in the morning so that we can go to school. So we're only doing it, that first summer, we're only doing it at night. And that's just breaking us in. Once he breaks us in past May, and we're out of school, then we can do it twice a day. So while you guys were listening to Van Halen and maybe going to concerts and maybe having some sort of a social life, we do not have a social life. There is no social life because everything that Dad is doing is to try to make, maybe he knew, he might have known that this was going to be a certain failure. But what he at least did on Lower Deep Creek was find clients to buy hay. So the first summer we're just irrigating the land, and he's kind of getting a feel for the area, maybe putting his name out there, finding out who needs hay, who has some horses, who has, a few cows, and could be his customers. Making only, he hasn't made any money yet. All we're doing right now is irrigating alfalfa. Alfalfa grows very, very fast. He probably cut the field already before we even started and got, I don't know, maybe 4 bales. I don't know. I don't remember that. After the field is cut, everything's flat. He's training us how to, a 30-foot, 4-inch aluminum pipe, you have to, imagine me at 90 pounds. Okay, let's make some physical descriptions of the ladies doing this job. I'm 90 pounds. I'm a skinny person. Plus, my mom can't cook for shit. She's a feminist. So I really don't eat much of what she cooks anyway. But my sister, she outweighed me by the time I was 4 years old. She was broader in the shoulders. She was just always a little bit thicker, a little bit more athletic than me. And she's also an Irish twin with my brother. There's 2 years between me and my sister, but, barely a year and a half between her and my brother. They have a very competitive relationship. Dee could always beat me up, but she would rather be in competition with Kirk, raised by this feminist who, feminism always fosters a desire to be a man. And I'm not born with that. I don't have a desire to compete physically against men. I'm a woman. I understand my limitations. I'm not going to try to impress somebody by how much I can lift. But that's something that my sister, a people pleaser, Libra rising, is going to do that. So you gotta, the pipe it's about 180 pounds when it's full of water. So you gotta, you gotta bend with your knees, and first you go to the riser, to the sprinkler head, and you disjoint it and put it over to the side so it can drain. But it's not going to drain right off the bat. You're gonna have to lift with your knees and pull that up so that all the water could drain out of it. So you can walk that joint 50 feet up so that it can get to the next line. And you're going to have to do that many, many times to get to the end of the line. Okay, now, my father demonstrated how critically important it is to get your line exactly perfect. It has to be perfectly straight with no deviation. You have to look down the line like you're shooting something. You have to be able to look down and see how straight it is. But I don't have a patriarchal appendage, so I can't see. Now let's talk about how the lack of a patriarchal appendage affected my eyesight. In fourth grade, I had a very gruff, elderly 80-year-old teacher named Mrs. Bryn in Circle, Montana. And my parents were alerted to the fact that I can't see. I can't see the board. I was doing poorly in school. But we couldn't afford to buy me glasses or take me to the doctor because my brother Kirk was on the wrestling team. And they had to do some traveling around to get Kirk to these events. Okay? So, what we decided to do was to put me in front of the class because we couldn't afford vision correction, eye doctors. We had to get Kirk to Sydney. There's a big competition waiting, and he's got a patriarchal appendage. So I can't see. So, sight is pretty critically important if you're trying to make a straight line. So, what I did was I partnered up with the Win, my brother Win. He was 9 when we moved there. He was 10 that summer when we first started. So he would have been, I don't know, not even 5 feet yet. And I don't know what they expected him to do without me anyway. So I was packing pipe with Win. So he would get one end of the pipe and I would get the other end of the pipe and we would move it. And, you know, Win would line it up. Win had perfect vision. He could line it up. I'd take the closer end and latch it, and he would line it up and position it so that Dee and Kirk could show off at how strong they are and, you know, pack the pipe themselves. Now with that big of a pipe, okay, and I haven't spoken about the boots. The boots are vaguely shaped like feet. They're sort of like Crocs that go all the way up to your knee. So and we have 12 boots that are all the same size. So some of them had holes in them, some of them didn't. The first person that would get their boots on would have the boots that didn't have holes in them. But if you got the boots with holes in them, then your feet would be wet while you were doing this task. My mother this feminist that likes to, you know, just prove that she can be a man, do men's work, do whatever. She became the traditional wife after being in the field maybe once or twice. I have very few memories of my mother in the field with us at all. No, all of a sudden she's in there just cooking a shitty dinner because she knew that job sucks. So we got 44 pieces of pipe. What happens is, okay, there's 2 hand lines on this side of the field, and then there's 1 wheel line on this side of the field, the one with the motor. First, Dad goes to the 2-wheel field, and he turns off the main line, and we disconnect that, and we let the pipe start to drain, and then he can take his 4-wheeler and go to the other field and start moving the wheel line. But the wheel line that he's moving it to is a bumpy. It's not a level field, and it's going uphill. So it takes him just as long to do the wheel line as it takes us to change 2 hand lines. He's got to straighten out that wheel. Well, not the wheel, the line. And then it's also a what do you call it? Not a polygram, a trapezoid, whatever it is. The field is not straight. It's not square. So he's got to add lines to the end. This takes Dad plenty of time, and then he would come back and check and see if the line that we create is straight, and the best way to determine that is to turn it on, and do we have any blowouts or not? A blowout is something that happens when your wheel isn't straight. All gallons and gallons of water. It's a geyser. 50 feet up in the air, you're going to see water coming out, and Dad's going to be pissed if he sees that. So, and we'll just have to do the job all over again. So this is a job that we do 2 times a day, and we do it 7 days a week. Oh, you don't get weekends off? No, the fuck we don't. This is when I'm 14, right? This is when I'm 14. When you're listening to Van Halen and I don't know what other girls are doing, reading Cosmo, painting your nails. I don't know what the fuck you girls are doing, but I wasn't doing any of that. MTV, fuck no, we can't afford it. We're poor. We don't even have a VCR yet at this point. Okay? We can't even watch movies on our downtime. Okay? There is... I think I told you, if you've ever watched any videos from me, you know my mother is a wet blanket, and pleasure and camaraderie is not her gift. And it's never prioritized. And this is an errand that we, as Les's children, have to do 2 times a day, all summer. And my father noticed, I think, after a while, he noticed a problem with our motivation. And so he started to give us hope. Just a tiny shred of hope. Just a small, tiny piece of hope that when all this was over in the fall, before we went back to school, that this twice a day, 2-hour long, 4-hour fucking work day, miserable, sloppy, wet boots, fucking the heavy pot, the thing that we have to do twice a day to make his farm run, we were losing motivation. But he said, you know, okay, just if you guys can just keep your line straight, just keep doing it. Just keep help me out. Help me. I need help. If you guys can just do this at the end of the summer, $100. I'll give you each $100, which this is being paid for something was something that none of us had ever experienced before. Remember, we're in Circle. You know, there's no job in winter wheat for kids except for if you have a male appendage. Apparently, you can drive a tractor, but that's mainly just to have a laugh with your dad. It's not really a utilitarian function. Now we were employees. Now we had 100. Now, even though we knew that we were working harder than $100, but $100 is better than what we've ever been given before. I had already, by the time I was 14 and 15, I had already stopped asking for glasses and an eye doctor. I was trained specifically to never ask for anything ever. Okay? Oh, we're not supposed to ask for anything. And especially me. We knew that $100 a summer was a low rate, but it was better than nothing. And we looked forward to it. And that helped us motivate us to get to the, you know, to get to the porch and start putting our boots on and put on our boots. People might ask, maybe, what if there's a summer rain? Don't you get a day off? If there's a summer rain, maybe you don't have to do it twice a day if there's a summer rain. Well, hold the brakes, sister, because do we have an inch or do we have 2/10? If we have 2/10 of a rain, then we still got to get our asses back out there. Okay? We still got to go out there. 2/10 isn't enough to skip changing pipe. Okay? The only time that we can get a day off is cutting. Now, cutting, it shouldn't take a week. About a week. And, in that week, after it's cut, then, it's tense. It's tense out there on the farm because Dad's biting his fingernails every cloud that passes by. We're hoping that it doesn't rain on the cut hay, because then it's going to be moldy and mildewy and nobody's going to buy his hay, and then it'll ruin his reputation to potential buyers if his hay gets moldy. So all we're doing, we're not doing it, and the kids aren't doing it. We secretly wish that it would rain right on that shit. Maybe he'll have to turn it or something. Like, there's a way the baler will turn it. I don't know. I don't understand machinery. That's not my fucking job. But if it doesn't rain, then we have to stack. Okay, so stacking is another endeavor. There's 3 cuttings, well, maybe 4 if you can get it, but there's basically 3 cuttings in a season. So the alfalfa will get, up to your tits. It'll get chest high before the cutting. And during that time, in those boots that I've described, the Crocs that go up to your knees, we're walking through basically thick weeds that are grabbing onto our feet while we're trying to navigate this 30-pound pipe. You're just pulling your feet out of the ground that is basically clawing your feet back in. And just trying to get it to the next position. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. But then there's the cutting, and then we can have a week off. But when the baling starts happening, that's when we got to stack. Now, I don't have a patriarchal appendage. My dad only has one spare set of shaps and one spare set of hay hooks. Hay hooks are they got handles on them, and they're a way that you could grab it. And listen, I'm 90 pounds. These bales are 80 pounds each. Okay? They're 80 pounds each. So, the spare chaps goes to a patriarchal appendage, my brother Kirk. And a hay hook, that goes to either Kirk or Wynn. And look at, the parents weren't overly generous to any of us, but you can see how these small advantages were given to the golden boy and the spare golden boy over us, even though I'm 90 pounds. Look, Dee, my sister will give her a pair of gloves and she's fine. She's fine. All she's trying to do is be the androgenous female that can do whatever a man can do. And good for her. I'm not doing that. And I'm not very, let's just say I'm not the treasure of the family because of this. After a cutting, when you disjoin the cutting and the stacking, when you disjoin a joint, the water's gonna drain out of that pipe while you're walking the subsequent pipe to position. But when there's a big ball of alfalfa in front of that pipe, it only takes a week for it to grow enough to block that pipe from draining. So that still requires this 150-pound deadlift when you're 90 pounds. Okay, God is fucking miserable. Jesus fucking Christ, it's miserable. And I'm sure, look, I'm not positive. They don't really talk to the children. These are still baby boomer parents like everybody else had. Every other Gen X had parents. They don't really talk to children. Children are just things that they own that are there to be convenient for them, right? Every Gen X, this is not a strange story. But, I'm still having my period. I still don't have glasses. Still can't ask him for glasses because I don't have a patriarchal appendage. I don't know what else to say about it, but my mother, the feminist who can do anything, doesn't matter that she's a woman. She became a trad wife when that chore was when she was tasked to perform. She went barefoot in the kitchen to prepare shitty meals. Okay, my sister, I'm built like a brick shit house. I'll beat Kirk. She's going to do the work. I'm not willing to do that. This is why I'm always the bad kid, because and I've heard other women say this. Look, I don't think that a 40-hour work week is for women. I don't think that any woman should be required to work 4 weeks out of the month, 5 days out of 7. That is not reasonable. That is not a reasonable request for females. If you think that changing irrigation pipe is a woman's work, then you can go ahead and put your name in the comments, and I'm sure that lots of people would love to invite you to their farm. But right now, I don't think you could find a El Salvadoran or Venezuelan or Guatemalan refugee that is going to be willing to change handline irrigation pipe for any less. Look, I mean, I don't know how much they would charge. They would definitely be more than $100 a summer. I know that. Anyway, that's not woman's work. I stand by it. We'll get into more of how there are millions of jobs. Well, look, I'm not going to get into millions of jobs. I just know that changing handline irrigation is not a job for females, and that's just one of a million. Thank you for your time. If you've made it, thanks for listening. Don't buy an alfalfa farm. Oh wait, no, yeah, this is my dad's final failure. He sold that farm before I graduated, and so I've never seen him succeed at anything before. This farm was his last failure. Now he's got his success. He put his current farm on the market. He was charging about double what it's worth. He thinks he's a Donald Trump real estate developer or something. To my knowledge, he hasn't sold the current farm, but this is still a over 1,000% return on investment on the money that he ripped off from Charlie Wanger to selling his current property for $500,000 instead of selling it. Look, he overcharged for it. He's kind of locally famous for that. Nobody's going to buy his small piece of property that he's got now with a center pivot. Of course, after we all graduate, after I graduate, he gets a center pivot. He doesn't have to have anybody change, but he doesn't. He has a bale stacker also. When I was with him, we were the bale stackers, and we were the center pivot, and that was a failure. But he's going to profit 1,000%. But no, he's going to hold out for the 3,000% $1 million markup on his current farm, which is just unwise. It's not intelligent, but that's the kind of person that he is. If you think that's a woman's job, if you think you want to do handline irrigation, just put your name out there. I'm sure lots of people will want to hire you up. It'll be fun.